because I want to get your picture in there. I just started recording, and hey kids, how the heck are you today? Here we are. We're here for another incredible edition of the Kong Family Show. I'm down in Las Vegas. Dan and Steve are up in Seattle, Washington. My Kong brother Shawn Wetzel, that boy, he's up there in Montana. They'll let anybody live in Montana, and he is living proof of it right there, baby. And we've got Chris Boland in the house, and who's this handsome fella? Mr. Kyle. All right, good to see you here today, buddy.
Morning.
Yeah, we are the Kong family, and we have this really simple goal. We just want to change the world. And interestingly enough, that's exactly what we're doing every single day. We are changing the world, and we're doing it. How is it that we're doing it again, Shawn?
Ooh, 1 glass of Kangen water, 9.5 at a time. And me, I get to use my European bottle with the cool lid and the nylon strap, not that cheesy plastic strap that snaps as you're getting your boogie on down the sidewalk. No, that one's locked in charge.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yes, you know, one lightning bolt in a box, one awesome individual at a time. We are changing the world. And today's Mr. Steve Beaumont, he's our special guest today, and we're really excited to have him on here. I'm really excited to hear his story and, you know, pick his brain a little bit. And you know, so we're going to get right to it. I've got a lot of traveling to do to get back home today, and forward to that. And who knows what's going to be in store? It's going to go smooth. And
for the record, JJ, the fact that you're starting out this show and you're hosting this show down in Arizona or wherever you are, and you've got that earth, wind, and fire thing going on behind you, that's some good medicine right there.
I love this thing behind me. It is so incredible. It is by far the most incredible, you know, sun thing that I've ever seen. And quite frankly, what you see behind me does not do it the justice that it deserves. See that thing? It is total 3D stuff, baby, just like our lives. And so, yeah, Steve, gosh, it's great to see you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And I'm going to start this thing out with a question that I love to hear from everybody that comes on the show, because quite frankly, I'm always curious how people got involved, you know. And so my first question is, how, when, and why did you get involved with Kangen Water, and were you a skeptic like I was?
Well, thank you so much for having me on this morning, JJ. I'm really excited to be here, and it's really great to get on here and see all these bright, shining faces that are up early and into action in their Enagic business. And you know, so just thank you for this opportunity to share. To answer your question, there's a couple parts to your question, and I want to answer each of those individually. First of all, I was introduced to Kong's water and Enagic by a very close friend of mine. I'm sure many of you know Carlos Gonzalez, and this was about 4 years ago. By the way, if you're on the line and you're not muted, can you mute yourself? We have a lot of background noise going on. Awesome. So it was about 4 years ago, and I met a gentleman named Carlos Gonzalez, again, who most of you know. And Carlos and I became very close friends. He was mentoring me in some personal areas of my life, and we started working out together. And let me back up a little bit. So I come from a background in the restaurant and hospitality industry. I had worked in just about every position known in that business. I cooked in the kitchen. I was a waiter. I was a bartender. I managed one of the more upscale restaurants in the Seattle area, and a lot of knowledge in that industry. But the problem was, I was stuck. I didn't want to be a full-time restaurant manager. I hated the number of hours that you had to work, and a lot of the hourly staff was making more than me. as waiters and bartenders. And I knew that I couldn't continue that kind of lifestyle for another 5 or 10 years because I was getting older. I was in my mid-30s. So I was already looking for something different. I just didn't know what. Now, my physical health was terrible. I was, up all night, partying, sleeping all day, and, just living that kind of lifestyle. I was associated with a lot of toxic people. And the relationships I had with my family weren't that great either. I didn't have a lot of great friends in my life at the time. I was just surrounded with a lot of negativity, and I really had no clue what I was going to do with my life. Most importantly, I didn't have a purpose. I didn't know what I was living for. I was just floating through life day to day to day, like a ship lost out at sea. And when I met Carlos, he kind of changed my perspective on some things and taught me some things that I never knew. And one day there were some people we were working out at the gym kept coming up to him and asking him about this water. And he would go out to his car and he would bring in these gallon jugs of water to these people and give it to them. And I finally broke down and said, dude, what's up with this water? I can go to the sink and get water. Why are you bringing this in for these people at the gym? And he didn't tell me anything. He just simply said, come to my place after we work out and take some home for yourself and just drink it. Tell me how you feel. And that's really where my journey began. I started drinking this water. He said one thing to me. He said, don't drink any soda, because I was drinking 4 to 5 of those 20-ounce Diet Pepsis every single day. That was my hydration. And when I was drinking water, I was taking my Fiji bottle and filling it up at the tap and walking around with that. So the first thing I noticed about this water that really got my attention was the fact that I slept through the night for the first time in about a decade without having to wake up and take some kind of pill. And I had been on and off everything from Ambien, Lunesta, handfuls of Benadryl, melatonin, Trazodone, which is, let's not even get into what that stuff does. So all kinds of different sleeping medications because I had severe insomnia and it was affecting my lifestyle and my health. And I woke up that morning and was just surprised how good I felt. And I didn't have any of that muscle soreness from my workout. And the next night, the exact same thing. And on the third day, I woke up and I went to Carlos and I said, okay, man, tell me what's going on with this crazy water you gave me, because I haven't slept like that in over 10 years. And the only thing I did different was drink this water that you gave me. And he goes, let me buy you dinner tonight and I'll share with you about that. And that's really where it started. He invited me to go to the spaghetti factory that evening, and I walked into what I thought was going to be just him and I having dinner talking. Well, it was a room full of people. And I thought, oh man, he suckered me into coming to one of those deals. So I thought, I was getting pulled into some kind of Amway meeting or a timeshare sales presentation. I really didn't know what to expect. But I knew some people in the room, so I had some people to talk to, and I sat there. And about 5 minutes into the presentation, it hit me. He did a very simple demonstration that resonated with me, and everything that I had experienced up to that point made sense. So to answer your other question, JJ, I was not a skeptic. I was only a skeptic in that I didn't believe that water alone could have that kind of impact. But when he showed me that tea bag demonstration and said, this is how we're hydrating your cells, this is how we're able to hydrate your brain, and you're getting water into the cells, and all kinds of great things can happen from there. It didn't take much for me to be convinced, JJ. I'm a pretty easy sell for the most part, which I encourage all of you on the call to be a relatively easy sell. Don't be overly skeptic. Don't go and do over research things, because you don't want to attract those kind of people into your business. But that's another topic. Long story short, I was sold within 5 minutes of this presentation. I had horrible credit. I had about $600 to my name, despite I was making decent income at that time. But within a month and a half, I had an SD 501 in my house, and I really started as an end user. I just wanted the machine because a good night's sleep meant that much to me.
Wow, that's I love that story. That's classic. And it's interesting hearing the different methods of which people have jumped on board with the Kong train and jumped into this incredible family of people. And so I'm always really curious about that kind of stuff, to just see where and how, and what was your journey that got you here. And now my next thing that I'm interested in learning about is, what has your journey been? I mean, you mentioned that it's really helped you with insomnia. What other kind of things has it helped you with in your life? And what about other people that and how long have you been involved with it now?
So that was about 4 years ago that I was first introduced. And before I even knew that there was a business attached to this, because, Carlos was a great, and I share that story for, a couple reasons, because I want people to see how I was prospected, because I try to prospect people the same way, not to give them too much up front. Let them experience, let them find what it can do for them, rather than simply prescribe what I want it to do for them. So I really didn't know too much about the business, but the more I kept coming to these meetings, and I kept leaning into to the people that Carlos was introducing me to, and I started to notice a trend among these people that were doing this as a business. First of all, they were very healthy. They were incredibly happy and fulfilled in their life, and they had something that I wanted, and that was a sense of purpose. They had a freedom where they weren't tied to a 9-to-5 job every single day, and they were able to spend most of their time doing what they wanted to do on their terms. That was something that was very attractive to me, because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I never wanted to be, it was always a dream of mine to own a business and to live life on those kind of terms. So I kind of started digging into the business a little bit, and I did not have a lot of success in the first year and a half. I was very, very part-time. I was not talking to very many people because I was afraid. And one of the first things that I learned is that I had a lot of work to do on myself. I felt that I needed to go out and know everything that there was to know about this water, and about the science of it, and how it worked in the body, and all these medical facts. And I was out there throwing up on people, probably making all kinds of medical claims that are clearly against our compliance rules. But, I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how to do network marketing as a legitimate business. And so after that first year and a half of really, I made a handful of sales, but not nearly what I expected. I expected that I was going to run out of the gate, sell 100 machines, and money was just going to fall from the sky. No, that's not the case. This is a real business. So at that point, I decided to go to work on me and make myself a better person. And as we continue this conversation, you're going to see that trend, that is one of the greatest elements of my story, is that personal journey that I took and who I have become along the way.
Yeah. Amen. That's the thing. When the enagic motto is change your water, change your life. It's not change your water, change your job.
Right.
As Sam so eloquently says all the time, it's change your water, change your life. And that's exactly the same thing that happened for me. I literally, because of getting involved with the Kong's Water family, I've learned to work on myself. And, you know, my wife will even attest to the fact that I'm a different person now. I have literally turned into a different person. And I'm so passionate about Kong's water that I need to work really hard on myself to quit throwing up on people over it. Because I'm literally so passionate about it, because it is a life changer. It really will change your life if you will invest in you. Like one of my buddies from the Morning Motivation, Ryan Bartholomew, he loves to say, you're never going to go broke by investing in yourself. And in my opinion, there's no better way for a person to invest in themselves than to become part of the Kong family, to put that flight suit on and jump off that cliff and, you know, take the ride and see what happens and where it goes. Because you know, being in here every morning, I get to hear such incredible stories and see just what this does to people. It's such an incredible gift that was given to us by God and Mr. Oshiro. I can't say enough thanks about it. And, you know, so you got involved, and I know that you're part of the restaurant business, and I want to hear some more about that. But I'd really like you to expand, if you wouldn't mind, on, you know, at this point, on what kind of health benefit. Because the truth of the matter is, what got me involved with this company was a story. It was the beautiful, incredible angel Brittany Dykes who told her story. After 6 months of hearing this fact and that fact and this, you know, all these facts and figures and all this technical stuff, all of that stuff just went in my one eyeball and out my other eyeball, in my one brain cell and out my other brain cell. And it was a story that rocked my world, that changed my world forever. And so I want to, always my biggest goal around here is to share stories. And I'd love to hear what kind of stories that you have, and for yourself, potentially for family members or friends or anything that, you know, what's the most touching stuff that's happened for you in the last 4 years?
Well, that's a very loaded question, because there's a lot of impacts that, you know, it's impacted me in such tremendous ways. But what's more important to me is what I've been able to pass on to others. And I mean, my health very quickly changed because I had more energy. I was able to do more. I had better mental focus. I was in a better mood. I was able to naturally wean myself off of antidepressants that I had been on for years. There was no more sleeping pills. I was finally sleeping at night. So my health made a really quick 180.
No more Diet Coke.
no more diet soda, and that was a big one as well. Any of you that have given up that nasty habit knows what can happen when you get rid of that. Good to see you there, Shawn. But as I started to share this with other people, I started to see their lives change, and I started to see their journey begin. And by far the most another area of my life that drastically changed was my relationships as a result of me being healthy. And I was really at a point where I was turning my life around and finding my purpose. And so my relationships with my family drastically changed. You know, before my dad passed away 3 years ago, I had the last year and a half that he was around, I had the most beautiful relationship with him, and was honored to spend that time reconnecting and just enjoying a father-son relationship as it should be. And I started making new friends. My Enagic family, you know, some of my best friends in the world are on this call or in this business, and those are the people we get to work with, which is another one of the most beautiful things about this business. But a gentleman came into my life, I guess it was three-ish years ago, and his father's actually on the call today. His name was Kyle Moons, and he was, when I first met Kyle, he reminded me of me about a year and a half prior. He was just starting this journey of turning his life around and finding what his purpose was. And I heard something that he shared resonated with me about he was looking for a way out of his job. He was kind of miserable where he was at and didn't really have a clue what he wanted to do with his life. And we quickly became friends. He was almost immediately enrolled in Enagic because he saw in other people what he wanted for himself. And through our friendship, I watched his life turn around more than I've ever seen someone turn their life around, and became one of the best friends I ever had. And watching him find his faith and find the love of his life and see his health drastically change and develop friendships. He was a very shy individual at first, and anyone that knows Kyle knew how outgoing and how charming he was. And unfortunately, a little over 6 months ago, he suddenly passed away, which was one of the harder times that I've had to go through in my life, even more so than losing my father. And but being part of his journey, being part of his transformation, and I didn't do it, he did it, and God did it. But being a part of that is probably the single greatest honor that I've had in my life. And I didn't realize it until after I lost him, how much I had been a part of that. And that is what today gives me purpose, because I know that there are people out there like Kyle that need this, that need a transformation in their life, not just physically with the water, not just financially with the business, but overall in spirituality and emotional, that relationship health, which is that third health Mr. Oshiro emphasizes so much, because that's the single greatest change that happened for me, and I was able to give that back to someone else.
Yeah, there's nothing, I learned this in the last 2 years, that there is absolutely, at least for me, there is nothing more powerful and more gratifying than having somebody call you up crying, thanking you for changing their life, for helping them change their life, because you didn't change their life, they did. You just gave them the tool, like David said yesterday, and put a ladder down into the hole so that he could climb up out of it. But he had to do the climbing. He had to get himself out of there. She just gave him the tool. We have this incredible tool that we get to go out there and change people's lives every day. And I'm a big boob about everything, and I've been sitting here crying the whole time listening to what you're saying. But yes, it's so powerful, and I'd like to reach out to my brother Shawn, and to Dan, and to Alan, and to Chris, and and to Tristen, and ask them at this point if they have any comments or questions for you, Steve.
I guess to me, my comment, man, is that this cat right here is a perfect example of someone out there that we've all yet to get to, that we all aspired to meet. He was sick of what he was doing. He was trying to find something else, and just to hear the transformation. I mean, brothers like Steve right here are all over out there. And even though there's a bunch out there that can't come to terms with their fear and can't come to terms with breaking their comfort zone, I just think it's beautiful that Beaumont has been so candid about, his whole connection with Carlos and how willingness he was to be open-minded to something. He pretty much said it, he kind of opened his mind to a lot of things. And to me, that's the best part about what I'm hearing from you. And obviously your compassion and talking about this guy, man, sorry about all that. But I love your passion. I love your compassion. And you're just a perfect example of people out there that are looking and they don't know yet. They've not yet been approached with what we have. And so to me, your testimony is exactly that. You know, you're sharp, you're on the ball, you're doing your thing. You got servers and cocktails and bartenders making more than you as you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. I get it, man. I know, I understand that whole world. And the fact that you just opened your mind and you saw the vision, that's awesome, man. I want to see you just blow this thing up just simply based on your willingness to shake your comfort zone and just create a new direction. That's what impedes so many people. They're fearful. We were talking about on the morning motivation call. We were designed to spread our wings. We're destined to reach and ascertain higher levels of consciousness, of being, yet fear and the enemy, man, the insecurities, distrust. We pucker up hard, tighter than a frog's behind, man. And there's so many people out there saying ribbit, you dig? They're on a log. They don't know what in the world to do. And that's where I think what our mission is, what our overall deal is. And at the end of the day, too, the relationship part. You know, people ask me what I do for a living. Last few years, I pretty much told them I'm a relationship builder. I literally spend my life daily building relationships. And they laugh, you know, how do you make your money? However, those relationships I'm building culminate into what we're doing, you know. And I always keep that. I used to puke on everybody. Oh, I got this machine, but, you know. And, you know, it was excitement. You're like a puppy dog that's got a new chew toy. You just can't quit batting it around and chewing it and flicking it across the room and running over and grabbing it and looking at everybody watching you play. That's like the water. That's what it does to us. So I just love the relationship component of it. I see the authenticity. I think with this mission, it allows us to be more into our true self because we want to serve. We want to be there for people. We want to be better for ourselves and others. And I think your whole story thus far is just, it's really resonating with me in that regard, man. So kudos to you, brother. Been looking forward to connecting at some point in time. I'm glad you got on the scene. Glad I'm here. I need to get my skinny ass out to Seattle, man. You guys got things going on, man, and I love it out there. I used to live in Auburn and Renton. So actually, I lived up in Linwood, too, out of college and summer there. So you guys got good things going on out there, and I love the synergy, and I just love the mass appeal that is growing out that way, man. And what we're doing is we're finding those frogs puckered up on the log, waiting to see what the world's going to do for them. You know, and we're giving people ladders. You know, they have to climb out of them, like David said yesterday, but I love being able to have that ladder for people that are open-minded enough to just see the light at the top of the hole they're in and start climbing. And I think what you're talking about is really speaking to that, man. So, yeah, I can dig it. I just want to drop that on you, man. I love your story. I love the prospect that is in you that we've not touched base with yet, that's out there. You're very hopeful for anybody out there wondering, well, nobody wants it, you know. No, they do. Excuse me, they do. They just need to be approached and patient with the process. And you get a guy like you busting loose like Richard Pryor, it's on, you know.
How about anybody else? Anybody else have anything to say? Yeah, what do you have to say about all that, Steve?
I mean, yeah, I always, Shawn, we got to get you out here, man. We'll get you out to one of our events, speaking and in front of people, because you always have a great way about you. We love your analogies, and just, I mean, you're hilarious and entertaining, but truly genuine. I was able to catch some of the morning motivation call before this, and you know, I heard you talking, and you're absolutely right. It's up to us. There are so many people that want to change, but they just kind of sit there waiting for change to happen to them, and rather than taking action and doing something about it. And you're absolutely right. God wants that change for us too, but we gotta at least take the first step or two. We got to get ourselves moving in the right direction. And yeah, he'll meet us there. He'll do the rest and take us by the hand. But you have to be willing to be open to something different than what you're used to. You have to be willing to change the things that aren't working for you, and you have to be willing to go to work on yourself. Because, and I always say this, you know, it's not about, at the end of the day, at the end of this life, it's not going to be about how much money you have in the bank. It's not going to be how many toys you have, how many vacations you've taken. It's going to be about who you have become along the way, because that, your character, who you are, is the only thing that you take with you.
Yeah, yeah. And in iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
And in this context, I mean, I love my Enagic family. I love how this morning motivation has opened me up to a whole nother world of people. We're all on the same page. And that to me is galvanizing, because sometimes I'm up on an island out here in Montana. There's nobody above me really getting after it. And I've been kind of the guy that's taken off, and due to my other stuff and living out in the sticks, it's tough to create events and stuff. So I've really tried to utilize this, but all this stuff is just iron sharpening iron. Tristen looked like she was getting frisky to drop some nuggets on us. So the lovely Tristen Rupp, please indulge.
Yeah, I'm getting frisky to ask a question over here.
Get it.
Yeah, okay, so hi everyone. Hi, Steve. I know that a lot of people that are watching this are going to be people who are interested in the water, but I think a lot of people that are watching are also going to be distributors. And I would love to hear, Steve, what you were going to talk about your approach to introducing people to the water. How you said you don't say very much. Could you just talk a little bit more about what you have found to be successful with that?
Absolutely. And the more I'm around this, and the more I learn from the great trainers out there and the people that are around me that are doing the deal and doing it right, like Dan is one of my, you know, not only one of my best friends, but one of my greatest teachers in this business. I have learned that this is all about the other person. You know, what's in it for them? What can we do to help them? And we can't ever, we have no way of knowing what we have to offer that specific person unless we get into their world, unless we start building that relationship. And how do you build a relationship? You don't do it by throwing up information on people. You start asking questions about them and what's important to them. Who are you? Where do you come from, Tristen? What's important to your life? And you just sit there and you listen. And you don't necessarily come right back at them with the answer, but you listen some more and you ask some more questions. And at the right time, you give them a nudge in the right direction. You know, I know that your physical health is important to you. I know that your fitness is important to you. I know that your voice is very important to you, and that your skin's important to you because of what you do for, you know. So what can I provide for Tristen Rupp? Because that's going to be different from what I can do to help Paul Nelson or Shawn Wetzel or Alan Moons. And really becoming a part of that person's world opens up, first of all, it develops rapport and trust, which you can't move on to second base unless you get to first base. So you want to develop the foundation of that relationship. But the best thing is, maybe they're not ready for what you have just yet. But if you have that relationship and that friendship base, then someday, I promise you, some window is going to open in their life, and you will be there to give them what it is, to show them what it is that you can offer that person. You're going to have that relationship and that friendship. And worst case scenario, let's say they never join your business or buy your product, you have a friendship. And that is gold. But as far as you know, the water, and I mean, I let people just, you know, ask me the questions and give them a little bit most important thing that I've learned in the last year and a half, 2 years is get someone else involved in the conversation. Introduce that person to a third party, because the worst thing you can do is be on that island alone with that person, just you and them, because sooner or later they're going to ask a question that you don't know the answer to, or they're going to come up with an objection that you don't know how to handle. And if you haven't introduced someone else to validate you, to validate what you're doing and what you have to share with them, then you're going to have a really tough time moving the process forward. When you've introduced someone, they can edify you and, you know, say, Dan can say, oh, Steve's such a great guy. We've been friends for, you know, this long a time, and we've worked together for on all kinds of different things, and we've gone hiking together and gone on trips together and shared meals together. You know, they can help build you up. You get that third party validation of the product and another story for that person to hear. And then you have the opportunity to bring them back into the conversation at any point. If I'm talking to you, Tristen, and you ask me a question about maybe anything about the water, I could say, you know what, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to get you the right answer. So hang on a second while I get Dan on the line, and maybe he can answer that for us. And then I bring Dan into the conversation, and he's already familiar to you because we've already had a three-way interaction with each other.
That's great advice. I love it. I need to learn. That's one thing I know for me, I need to work on this because I like I said earlier, I'm so passionate about this water that I almost can't help myself from throwing up on people. And it's like, it's another one of those things. You just have to work on it, right? You just have to tone it back and not say too much and utilize somebody else. And, you know,
let the water do the work, because we know the water works. So let them try the water. Let them discover their own mini story in the first couple days, and base your conversations on the feedback that they give you.
Yes. Hey, Dan, I know that you've been back there in the background listening in from the cheap seats. You got anything to add to this? You want to ask Steve anything? Oh.
You're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I took 3 phone calls, and I'm not sure if it shows me on there or what it shows when I took a call, but I've missed 95% of this, so I apologize, and I'm not going to, speak on what I haven't heard. But I know Steve well, and he's amazing to work with, and I'm sure you're getting great content. So, yeah, I do apologize. My business partner, Lawrence, just landed from Rome. He just got back from 10 days in Italy, and so we were on the phone for a minute.
Awesome. How about you, Alan? You got anything that you want to mention to Steve? You need to.
Well, good morning. Yes, I just unmuted myself. So as Steve mentioned, unfortunately, my son passed away very unexpectedly, tragically, about 6 months ago. And he was the one that introduced me to the water. I mean, we have a unit in our home, and he'd gradually been bringing us along in terms of getting us used to drinking the water, and would throw a few nuggets out like, Dad, you really need to stop drinking that soda, and a few other things like that. And then when he passed, it took a little while, obviously, to when we're still grieving that, going through that process. But Steve's been instrumental in helping me basically connect with Enagic and to take over Kyle's business, and to sort of, further that project along in some very real ways, being connected to Kyle's project and sort of being part of the Enagic family connects me to Kyle, and also is something that I'm, hoping that, I can just sort of spread his desire, the reason why he originally got involved, in terms of wanting to spread this idea of good health. And Steve's been, instrumental in helping bring me along and teaching me about the product. We've been attending a number of the meetings that he puts on, and we're just growing in knowledge with respect to how this all works. And I'm fortunate in some ways in that Kyle had built a little bit of a foundation from which I can continue to build, I just look forward to seeing where I can take it, sort of in Kyle's memory.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love to hear that. And, I'm definitely sorry for your loss. I know that, I can literally feel it coming through the screen, your love for him. And, it's kind of interesting too, because the Kong family, like Mr. Sam Tran, the Traminator, love that guy. But, his story is something that gives me great comfort when he talks about his near-death experience and what's up there in heaven. And we just know that there's just love. My mother, I still miss my mom. She's my main reason why I do what I do, is because of my mom. I really believe she'd still be here with me if I would have known about this. And it's my driving force. But I know it, and it makes it so much easier to handle the loss of people when you know that they're in a better place. They're in a place of nothing but love and light and happiness, and that's comforting. For me to know that my mom, instead of suffering and taking 22 different medications and just being in pain and miserable all the time, she's up there in a world of love, and that's very comforting to know. And the only reason I know that is because I made the decision to become part of this incredible family of people, and so it's really just fantastic. And so Steve, I want to get on to my personal favorite question that I get to ask everybody that comes in here, because I always get such unique answers from everybody on this one. And you've got somebody out there that's interested. You've got one thing that you can say to them. What is it?
Wow. One thing. I can't tell them about microclusters or antioxidants. No, I'm just kidding. I keep going back to the change your water, change your life. This is going to change your life in some way. Mr. Oshiro didn't come up with that change your water. He didn't come up with change your water, change your wallet. He didn't come up with change your water, change your body. He came up with change your water, change your life. He wants us to be happy. His vision is for us to live in that emotional, that spiritual health, that relationship health, which is a byproduct of having time freedom, having the healthy finances, having a healthy body so that you can take care of the people that you love and do the things that you want to do. So if I got just one thing to say to someone, it's there is some area of your life that isn't perfect that you want to change. And it could be any of those three healths, the physical, financial, or the emotional health. But one of them is lacking in some way. And we have everything you need in Enagic. Enagic can offer all three of those healths, whether you start with the physical or start with the financial. But if you stick with this thing, if you truly lean into it and give it your all, and you're willing to be open and go to work on yourself, then you're going to end up having that emotional and that relationship health that somewhere in your heart is missing.
I love it. That's why that's my favorite question, because every single time, every guest has a unique perspective on that will help people that are in here, people that are involved with the family already, and also people that are considering it. They're trying to decide. They're trying to do their research to make that wise choice, whether they're going to, jump on that ladder and start climbing up out of that hole. And I think a big part of this, one thing we've talked quite a bit about today, which is exactly it. We talked about relationships. How do you make money building relationships? Well, money doesn't grow on trees. It grows on relationships. Mm-hmm. That's where money literally grows from. That's the tree that grows money is us relating to each other and relating to people around us and changing people's lives in some silly little way, like seeing an old couple that's sitting there having breakfast at the Carl's Jr. and walking up to them. They're easily in their 80s. I walk up to them and go, "Hey, how you kids doing today?" And it was amazing, the beam. And this always happens. I love to tell people this because this is one of my favorite things to do. Whenever I see an old person, that's up there in age, I love to walk up to them and say, "Hey, how you doing today, kids?" Just calling them a kid, it is amazing what happens to their mindset. Their eyes gleam, the smiles come to their face. And I did that yesterday morning, and this old couple, they were so beaming. They both told me, "Wow, you just made our day." And that's probably the biggest magic for me with this company, this family of people, is that literally every day I get to get up and look at my crazy hair in the mirror and say, I get to go change somebody's life today. Lord, whose life do I get to change today? Who am I supposed to help today? And it is the most powerful thing in the world. There's nothing better, and it all starts with relationships. And hopefully we'll be able to get you in here again sometime in the near future, Steve, because I'd really love to hear what you have to say about helping to get Kong's Water into restaurants. Because one of the biggest problems I have with going and eating out is that I happen to know that all of their tomatoes, all of their cucumbers, all of their food, it's got these poisons all over it, and I'm having to eat it if I go to their restaurant. And I really want to learn more about being able to get, the best way to get this in there, to get it into my favorite restaurants, because I understand that what's on the food now, and I don't want to eat it. I want to go eat at your place because it's awesome food, but I don't want to eat all that poison. And so hopefully we can get you back on again to expand on that. Maybe just have an episode where that's the topic we can learn.
I would absolutely be honored to do that, and because I know that there are so many Enagic distributors out there that want to share this with their favorite restaurants, and I know, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are out there trying to get into restaurants, but they're not necessarily doing it the right way. I'm going to go back to the relationship thing. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta have that relationship. If you don't have a relationship with the owner or the chef or someone in authority in that restaurant, start building it. Start patronizing that restaurant. Start talking to the staff and getting into their world, because that's gonna help you tremendously to help them implement this. That's been one of my secrets to success in the restaurants, is having that relationship first to get in the door, because that's the hardest part for most people. We all know that if you get in front of an executive chef and you do that 11.5 with the oil, they are not going to say no to this. They can't. That opens up so many doors for them and such a return on investment for them, which, by the way, is the most important thing for restaurant chefs, restaurant owners and chefs. You get that in front of them, they can't say no, but you have to get there first.
Right. Yes. And as far as the relationship building, that's a big part of why I like to bring people on here, because like I said before, it was a story that changed my life. And you never know. That's why I'm constantly reaching out, trying to get people to come here and, maybe step out of their comfort zone and come share their story, because you never know who that story is going to resonate with. I sat and watched all kinds of different stuff and nothing resonated until that one story came along. And so I want to get people together, because your story, Steve, what you've had to say here today, it might be something that the person that's going to see this replay on YouTube down the road, that they go, wow, that's Steve Beaumont, dude. Incredible. That's the kind of guy that I want to roll with. And so the one thing I love to give everybody the opportunity to do, and this is completely up to you, whatever information you want to give out, but I'd love you to give your information out so people can, you know, that do resonate with you as time goes by or whatever, that they can get a hold of Steve Beaumont. They can friend up with him. They can call him. They can do, you know, whatever it is that you that you're going to allow in that department. It's completely up to you. Websites, you know, whatever. I don't care. I want you to give whatever information out that you want to give out. And I also want to just mention to whoever, like say if Steve gives out his Facebook address and you want to friend up with him on Facebook, just do him the common courtesy of sending a message to him as well. When you send that friend request, also send a message along with it that says, hey, Steve, I saw you on the Kong Family Show, or I saw you live on somebody's page, or somebody sent me something, and man, you are a rock star, and I want to come to your show. So, you know, please do him the common courtesy of doing that. And then, Steve, you know, please share whatever you would like with our guests so that they want to, they can hook up.
Absolutely. I make myself as available as possible to everyone, because I'm not just in this for me and for my team. I'm in this for the entire Enagic family all over the world. Like you said, JJ, please just send me a message. I do get a lot of friend requests on Facebook, and I try to keep that, you know, that number low. So just send me a message so I know who you are, and then I'll accept you. And then I have all kinds of content on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. It's just my name, Steve Beaumont. There's a picture of my face. Tons of content out there that's available for everybody. Exclusive interviews with chefs from one of the top restaurants in Seattle. All of our trainings, all kinds of demos, and great videos. You could reach out to me directly. Call me, text me. My number is 724-388-6881. You can email me, steve@truehealthvision.com.
Awesome. That's, you know, that, like I said, that's a big part of why I do this, because for me, the main thing is that people get their machine and become part of this incredible family. I don't really care where they get their machine. If they get it from me, that's fantastic. I love, that's great. If they get it from you or Dan or Shawn or Paul or Alan or Chris, Tristen, I don't care where they get their machine. I just want them to get their machine.
Yeah.
You know, my brother just bought his machine and he got it from someone else. And I'm tickled for him. And I've had that happen, and it's fine with me, because I understand the laws of attraction and the laws of positive motivation and that kind of stuff. And you know, I'm more about changing lives and building relationships. And I know that by doing that, that's going to benefit me in the long run. And so that's a huge part of my goal here, is to hook people up, because we just never know who's going to resonate with who's going to want to work with who. And the most important part is we're in the life-changing business. People ask me what I do for a living. I tell them I change people's lives. That's what I do. What do you do? You know? And so, you know, it's just been such an incredible learning experience and such an incredible life-changing journey for me. This has been the most incredible blessing of my life. I just wish I would have known about it a lot longer ago. But you know, we all know that things happen for their reason and in their time frame. And this is just my little part to be able to get people in, get the opportunities to tell their stories, because those are what's going to change people's lives all over the world. And that's how we're going to accomplish our goal. You know, everybody in there right now says the same thing. We just want to change the world, and we're going to do it. It's happening every single day. We're witnessing it. Every single day I get to send out a post on Facebook of the Kong family, the Kong kids. They're out there changing the world, baby. And that is what we are all about. And so, Steve, I'd like to just give you one last opportunity to, if you've got any final message that you'd love to share with the kids, please do. And then we can all get moving and go rock the world again today. That's what we do. We go out and rock the world every single day.
Yeah, I mean, if there's just one thing I want to leave with everyone, it's, be persistent, persevere. Every single one of us comes to a point in our enagic journey where, it's not always perfect. Every day isn't, the best. We have bad days. We have days where we miss the sale or, whatever happens. Just don't ever give up. And I mean, I've been through the ringer in the last 4 years. I've had some of the most trying times of my life. I lost my father. I lost my best friend. I've battled depression and anxiety through those things. But the single most important thing is that I have kept on going. And I've reached out to, Dan has talked me off the ledge a time or two, and I'm sure he'll attest to that. But I couldn't be more grateful to Dan for that, and for Carlos for talking me through some of those times. I never let those on my team feel the impact of what I'm experiencing. If it's negative, I always try to go to someone, an upline or someone that's cross-line to me. I don't ever like to poison. I hate the word downline, but I hate to poison my team with negative experience. But just please don't ever give up, because I promise you, if you push through that hard time, that you're going to experience a greater joy on the other side of it. And if you haven't experienced failure in this business, then you have not even started your business yet. Because this business, just like any other true endeavor in life, you are going to fail over and over and over and over again. Think about baseball. A Hall of Fame hitter fails 70% of the time. So just no matter what happens, just keep pushing through and never give up.
Amen.
Thanks for sharing, Steve. I love you, brother.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, sir, buddy.
That was where I was going to go. I just had this feeling that Paul was itching to say something. So,
Yeah, man. I love each and every one of you guys. This place has changed my life.
Well, that's what we do around here, kids, right?
Amen, brother. Amen. Steve's a good man. Watched him grow through this whole thing. It's great.
We are the Kong family, kids, and that's what we do. We run around changing people's lives every day, and it's the most powerful and exciting thing that, for me, that I've ever experienced. And so I'm so grateful and thankful for people like Steve that are willing to take their precious time and come in here and share some magic with us. I'm so thankful, Steve. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm incredibly thankful to you and for the time of everyone, being up early and into action. And these are the winners. I mean, these are the ones that are going to go 2-3 and well beyond because they're up early and into action. And JJ, I can't thank you enough for just the honor of being part of your family and being on this call with you and having a relationship with you.
Yeah, well,
Can
go ahead, Shawn.
I just wanted to thank you myself, but at the same time, I want to thank that old vet that's immediately to your right on my Brady Bunch screen. Alan, dude, you're beautiful, bud. I can't even begin to understand what you're going through, but the fact that you're here talking about kind of continuing to build on the legacy Kyle kind of got going, dude, it's awesome. You got this kid right here, Steve, in your pocket. I want to see you guys fly. And I'm just really happy and I'm humbled. I'm absolutely humbled that you were able to join us with having gone through that so recently. That's just absolute courage, and I'm just humbled and honored to have you on here as an old vet. I appreciate the heck out of that. I refer to all my elders as old vets, man. It's just like you guys have earned that because you've forgotten probably more than we know. So
Very kind of you. Thank you.
I'm really humbled by you being here, and I look forward to shaking your hand someday and seeing you on stage somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting there as well. And as JJ said a little earlier, we're so grateful that my son, sort of had a renewing of his faith. He'd recently gotten rebaptized. And so, we know where he is.
Amen. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, thank you so much. And as usual, we got to end this thing the way we always end this thing, and that is that we are the Kong family, and we are here to change the world. And we are changing the world. And what was that again, Shawn? How are we doing it?
One glass of Kangen water, 9.5 at a time.
Amen. And one lightning bolt in a box, and one incredible family of people out there sharing the gift that God and Mr. Oshiro endowed us with, that we are going to go out and change the world with. And so, as usual, you guys, don't forget your hugs. This is how you hug yourself right here. And this is how you give a verbal hug. HooDeeHoooo!
Have a great day, everyone.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Good
Love
show.
you guys. Have an
Building
awesome
value.
day. Go
Giddy
change
up.
somebody's life.
Go be
Thank
a
you.
bless. That's it. Giddy up, gentlemen.
Thanks again, JJ.
You're welcome. Much love. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
HooDeeHoooo!